Nothing excites football fans more than a compelling story of an underdog. Be it in World Cup or league, a need for an underdog for the fans to root for is greater than ever in this modern football, where the powerful or top clubs are about to make this game quite predictable and less interesting. And that's why today we are about to look the rise of an underdog club from Premier League, which now could be about to become one from the big four, Newcastle United. Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So after an exciting World Cup, we are back to club football, and maybe at some leagues things might be looking quite predictable for this season. But right now at Premier League is absolutely buzzing right now, to be honest. Arsenal on the top of the table might just be the best team in the world right now, and the race for top 4 is heating up, as Newcastle have emerged one of the biggest surprise from the season, as they comfortably sits in top 4 halfway through the season, just 2 points apart from Manchester City. And this rebirth, the rejuvenation, started from last year, and 2022 was quite a year for Newcastle United. It was more of a roller coaster ride for them, from struggling to fight the battle of survival in the league to the process of rebuilding to make some more new signings, the takeover. It's been quite a year for Newcastle fans, as they have experienced a lot of mixed emotions. And just around a year ago, in January 2022, Newcastle was on the 19th place in Premier League table with 15 points and have scored just around 22 goals and have conceded 45 goals. Surely they were one of the worst team last season in terms of defense. And all this was a year ago. Fast forward to now, they're comfortably sitting in top 4 and competing against the clubs like Arsenal, City and United. I mean, in just a year, things have drastically changed for the club, and that's why it's quite fascinating and compelling to every football fan. How did it all happen? Well, there are a lot of reasons and factors for it, why it happened, but the one that's getting highlighted right now, it's the money. The takeover by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, and that of course meant a lot of money for this club. And of course, that's not a wrong or false assumption. Of course, the takeover has been an obvious factor in their sudden emergence. This new ownership have allowed them to change the whole dynamic surrounding the clubs. They gave them better budget, which allowed them to compete with other clubs in transfer market, better recruitment of staff, and plus the better facilities. I mean, the whole point is that if they have money, they'll obviously spend it. But what matters is that how efficiently you are spending it on to get your recruitment right. Till now, since the takeover, the club have spent around 200 million euros in less than a year. And it's safe to say it was worth it, because with this money they bought the likes of Kieran Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes, Chris Wood, Alexander Isak, Botman and Nick Pope, and all of these players are now an integral part of Eddie Howe's squad. But again, just splashing the cash and signing the players doesn't mean that you're gonna taste success all of a sudden. I mean, ask Nottingham Forest fan. They made around 20 signings last summer, but still are finding themselves right now in the bottom of the table. So of course, signing right players of right profiles and managing them is a major task, and Eddie Howe might just be the best thing happened for this club, to be honest, because he ticks all the boxes of how to rebuild the team. This man has completely changed the mentality and the ambitions of the players, because after spending such amount in transfer market, it's become necessary that you deliver the results. And Eddie Howe is not only delivering the result, but the kind of football his team is playing is quite surreal to watch. The most important thing for Eddie after taking over was to change the dynamic in the way they play, because under Steve Bruce, the manager before Eddie Howe, the Newcastle was kind of a team who used to sit deep, who used to play quite defensively and just look out for the counters. But to be fair, Steve Bruce didn't have the players to play more attacking football, but still overall Newcastle was just not good under him. However, Eddie Howe, after getting the players that he wanted, he then installed a complete different tactics which allowed them to shift the whole dynamics. And now, Newcastle is more of an attack-minded team who likes to press intensely on the opponent's first line of defense during the build-up phase, which allows them to win the ball back as quickly as possible. And well, the results are well and truly visible. Under Steve Bruce, Newcastle managed to achieve PPDA around 20, but under Eddie it drastically came down to 11, which just shows the intensity and hunger to win the ball back has been increased. And PPDA, or to say passes per defensive action, is a criteria which just shows that how much average passes you allow your opponent to make before you take a defensive action or try to press him. With pressing, they are also very brave with their approach, as they use high defensive line to allow win the ball even more higher up on the pitch. And of course, this kind of rigorous pressing results in turnovers, and Newcastle managed to achieve highest turnovers, which are around 151 this season, and with 22 of them leading to a shot and 4 goals. But also what I like most about this Newcastle team is that the way they press, it's not only about throwing their players on the pitch. The press is quite well structured and flexible, which allows them mostly to win the ball in central areas. They have man-to-man approach, with wingers playing an important role by blocking the passing lanes to the fullbacks. A pressing shape is usually in a 4-1-4-1 formation, but of course it depends on the team they are playing against. Football obviously is a team game, and the way Eddie Howe likes to play, it certainly asks from his players to play as a unit more than ever. But still, to play in a way you want, you certainly need those 1 or 2 difference maker. And in this case, the club have been spot on about whom to bring in and whom to signing. and the most important signing for this club has been of the Kieran Trippier from Atletico Madrid. Kieran Trippier has brought an incredible leadership, and not only he has been their most important player offensively but also as well as defensively. Or maybe I would even suggest that he is the reason why Almiron is shining this season, and we will talk about this lad later on. But as a right back, Kieran Trippier's overlaps have been quite important for Newcastle's team, as most of their attack comes through those wide areas, mostly from the right side. And also, he just not only overloads that right side, but also he creates spaces for Almiron to get more inside the box. His passing abilities have helped Newcastle a lot, as he is the player who produces highest number of shot creating chances for Newcastle this season, and also he is the player who completed most number of passes for Newcastle this season as well. And it just gives us idea that how he sees more of the ball and how he important as a player for this club. And also interestingly, he is among the top 3 who created most number of chances in Premier League this season, just behind Kevin De Bruyne and Pereira. Moreover, his quality on set pieces is incredible, and maybe that free kick in last season against Everton, which was scored by none other than Kieran Trippier, which helped Newcastle to get out of relegation zone. And that's why that moment, that free kick for me, is the start of new era for this club. Along with Kieran Trippier, the signing of Brazilian Bruno Guimaraes was also quite an important one for the team, as he quickly became the fans' favourite for obvious reasons, because with him, the team looked far more stable and lethal, especially in the transitions. And to be honest, this midfield was key part of club's revival. Joelton became a new version of himself under Eddie Howe, and now he's an absolute powerhouse in this team. And as said before, Newcastle presses in such a manner that they forces their opponents to play mostly in midfield, and the reason for that is because the presence of this midfield trio, which is quite physical and capable to win the ball back as quickly as possible and then hit the opponents mostly on transition. And that's the reason why most of the Newcastle's attack this season have come through transitions. And also another important thing about Newcastle is that they do not keep constantly attacking that opponent's box. They pick up their movements, they attack in phases, they pick their movements, and then boom. And that's the reason why they certainly, alongside Arsenal, are the most lethal team in transitions. And due to the presence of such players like Bruno Guimaraes, who have an elite passing qualities, which allows Newcastle to switch the play quickly as possible, which makes even more harder to catch Newcastle on the counter attacks or transition. And it surely is as hard as catching Almiron right now, because my man is literally unstoppable at the moment. And especially since Grealish mocked him, this dude has unleashed his inner demon. He's a world-class winger with quick feet and speed, which makes him hard to mark. His off-the-ball movements, mostly playing when inside the area, inside those half spaces, are quite perfect. And this happens because he likes to play 1-2s with players, where after passing the ball, he just glides through blind side of his marker, and since most of the times the players are mostly focused on receiver, he picks his movements and make those lethal run-in behinds. But apart from their attack, their defense has been improved as well, because in 2022 they have kept around 15 clean sheets, and in 35 games they have just conceded 31 goals. And these stats are quite improved as compared with 2021, because in 2021 they conceded around 80 goals. But anyway, this team is still improving match by match. Recently they just defeated Leicester City, and they even got above Manchester City after that for some time. But still, that made me wonder, are they the title contenders? I mean, it may be too soon to say that because season is too long, but still this team is giving me that Newcastle 93-94 vibes, where the story after promotion from Championship to Premier League and then marching towards Premier League title was just like a fairy tale. But anyway, there is still a lot to play for Eddie Howe's team, but till now they have been quite impressive. They are playing good football, they are good coach, they have good unit, and all of these things points out that the takeover has been a blessing in disguise. But also with that takeover comes the argument of the money. And you just cannot say that it's all about money. It's not all about money. Look at the work that has been put. Look at the result they have been getting. And these things are a perfect example of how to use your resources in the right direction. And maybe you're one of those people. I mean, I'm not disrespecting your choices, but still you might be one of those people who does not like these clubs that are run by oil money. And I agree with your argument. Like, they have this little unfair advantage over the other clubs. But if you look at Newcastle right now, I mean, they are playing good football, they are getting good result. And as neutral, for me, it's been quite fascinating and compelling to watch their emergence. And that's why, just as a football fan, you just gotta appreciate Newcastle United. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching the video, and let me know your thoughts about this sudden emergence and rise of this Newcastle United. Let me know it all in the comments down below, and also don't forget to like and share this video, and as usual, subscribe to the channel. And now I'll meet you soon with another new video. Until that time, as usual, as you know, enjoy the game.